Alright, we're going to get started with lecture number 2. We're doing this a new way. You can see me right now. I might switch back and forth between my face and what I'm going to be typing on the screen. It's also going to be a quick one, a quick, less than 5-minute lecture on the Greeks and their influence on American government. So, let's begin. Hopefully you've got your little note sheet printed out, and if not, you can follow along here. Let's switch over. If you're looking at your note sheet, I want to talk about Plato for a brief second. Plato, one of the early Greek philosophers, who spoke about the philosophy of government and what it means to be a good government and a corrupt government. Plato was very clear in what he thought were good forms of government and what were bad forms of government. We often think that the Greeks brought us democracy, but really what was their true form of government? That's what I want to take a look at particularly right now. And let's take a look at this little note sheet here. What Plato said was, if there was one person ruling a government for the Greeks, that the best form would be a monarchy. And he said the corrupt form, he didn't have a problem with the monarchy, he just wanted to make sure that it was fair, but he said that the corrupt form was a tyranny, basically taking all control from the people. He said if there was a government led by the few, he said that would be an aristocracy, and what he called that was rule of the best. The best in society would control the society. And if there was a corrupt form, he said that was an oligarchy, and in a sense, he said that was the rule of the rich. For the many, he used a term called polity, or a mixed government, meaning that there was a blend of all kinds of different groups of people, in much the same way that Rome will be, as you'll see in the next lecture. And he said that corrupt government was a democracy, and he was afraid of the poor people taking complete control over the system and taking power away. So his answer was a balance. His answer was this polity government right here. And that balance was, don't let the rich control everything at the expense of the many. Don't let the poor control everything at the expense of civil war. But find a balanced approach that allows the common person to have a voice and the wealthy to have a voice. That balance is going to be struck. So how does that inspire us? Well, the founders seek that kind of balance in our own government. In a way, the president is an elected monarch who basically can take control when a crisis happens and when it is needed. Does the president's power get too out of control? Well, maybe it does. For the Senate, he said there's a check there, our founders say there's a check there. The Senate, in a sense, is a voice of the aristocracy, the wealthy. You'll see what that looks like in the Senate based on who's in the Senate when we look at that in class. The House of Representatives was a voice of the common man. Why? Because they are directly elected when we write our Constitution. And the courts themselves, they were the voice of the law, the fundamental law. They were there to interpret and solve conflicts, because if they didn't have some mechanism to solve these conflicts, all of these groups were going to say theirs was the right way, the other side's the wrong way. That fundamental law, the Constitution itself, is what separates the courts out and is there to keep balance with the whole group. That's a 5-minute down and dirty history of the Greeks and Plato's philosophy and how it applies to American government. We'll take a look at this one in class. Stay tuned for Rome.